guys ever basically like found that the treasurer has not followed? Or John, or before John,
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our meeting tonight. If you can please all rise, we'll salute our flag. Pledge allegiance. Madam Clerk, if you could please call the roll.
Councilmember Bill de la Pena.
Yes, present.
Councilmember Adam.
Here.
Councilmember McNamee.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Jones.
Here.
And Mayor Engler.
Here. There's, we're going to make a slight adjustment to our agenda tonight. We're going to have items 11A and B moved up in the right after our consent items. And as you may have heard, Councilmember Adam is at home. I'm sorry, Councilmember Jones.
I'm not with Mr. Adam. I'm here at home.
I always try for a perfect meeting, and it's nice to get it out of the way quickly.
May I make a quick statement?
This is my home, Bob.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Jones.
Yes, I'm still testing positive for COVID, and I'm trying to doctor up here at home, so I be sure not to miss the meeting next week. So that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you, and glad that you could join us at least via Zoom. Okay. Very good. I think we have our public comments now. So, Madam Clerk, if you can open that for us.
This is the time and place for public comments. All remarks should be addressed to the council as a whole. Speakers are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. One individual has requested to speak, and pursuant to council standards, speakers are allowed 3 minutes.
Thank you. Our speaker tonight is Mr. Rosenthal. Go ahead, Mr. Rosenthal.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. My name is George Rosenthal. I live in Ventu Estates. I and all the residents of senior mobile home parks in Thousand Oaks wish to again thank Claudia Bill de la Pena for setting up a GoFundMe to raise funds to pay for the rent increase for those seniors unable or hard-pressed to pay the 8.5% increase. Claudia then went a step further and partnered with Harbor House so that Harbor House case managers work directly with the residents. Next, Al Adam and Bob Engler assisted in raising funds. Also, thanks to all those who contributed to the GoFundMe. Harbor House called me today and stated that the phone lines are jammed with seniors looking for help. The GoFundMe funds have not yet arrived, but Harbor House is beginning to assist people on their own. Harbor House stated that the community development block grants could be set up with Harbor House to fund the endeavor. Although many hard-hit seniors of the 1,000 plus senior mobile home owners are going to be helped, there are still hundreds and hundreds of seniors who can pay the 8.5% rate increase, but are still stressed by the dramatically high inflation and may not make it over the next months, or with another 8 to 10% rent increase induced by the CPI in 23. There has to be a cap in place to prevent further catastrophes. Forget every rent increase is a yearly rent increase, but it's a permanent rent increase on into the future for all senior mobile home owners. We have been discussing this topic for 3 months, and there have only been 3-minute community talks and no discussion or dialogue with the council to bring out both sides of concern and ideas. As in the past, a community roundtable needs to be brought back. Leaders from the mobile home parks and the council meet in private and have open discussions to resolve issues. I am asking that the community roundtable be put on the next agenda and voted to bring back and implement. Open dialogue, civil discourse is the best form of democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We do not have any other public speakers, so I will turn it over to our city manager for any comments. Nothing from Mr. Powers. So we now would go to our consent calendar. Our consent calendar is open for motion. Go ahead. Yes.
Mayor
No,
Engler,
no,
I move approval of the consent calendar.
Very good. Any items to be pulled by our members? Very good. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Bill de la Pena,
Yes.
Councilmember Adam,
Yes.
Councilmember McNamee,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jones,
Aye.
and Mayor Engler,
Yes.
and that motion passes 5-0.
Very good. We do have now reports that we've moved up on our agenda a little bit. We have our City Investment Review Committee Annual Report, and we also have Mr. John Short, who's the chair of that committee, along with Jamie Boscarino, our Finance Director, for questions.
Good evening, Mayor Engler, council members. I would like to introduce our Investment Review Committee Chair, Mr. John Short III, who will be presenting the committee's annual report tonight. I would also like to thank the committee for their service over the past year and volunteering their time to serve on this committee. Mr. Short.
Good evening, and thank you, Mayor Engler, City Council, and staff. And before I present the report, I'd like to thank each of you for your hard work, dedication to making this city such an amazing place to live, work, as well as play. City Council established a 5-member advisory committee in 1997 to monitor the Treasurer's compliance with investment policy and to recommend changes to the investment policy. The committee provides quarterly updates and an annual summary to City Council. Members must be residents with experience in investments and finance. Members are appointed to serve 2-year terms with staggered expirations. Current members include myself, that just celebrated 35 years as an investment advisor and 16 years on the Investment Review Committee, included Davin Carey, Anthony Gonzalez, Jim Hoagland, and Cordy Sorensen. The terms for Mr. Sorensen and Mr. Hoagland expire in December. After serving 8 years, Mr. Hoagland is stepping down from the committee. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank him for his time and dedication to the city. He was an integral member of the committee with extensive business background. I believe I speak on behalf of all members in saying that he will be greatly missed. The committee met quarterly as scheduled and submitted reports of its findings to the City Council after each meeting. Meeting agendas and summary notes were also provided to the council members and are available on the city's website. The committee's quarterly reviews reflected the city's performance. Our portfolio is a diversified pool of low-risk investments in compliance with the city's stated policies. After the Fed dropped interest rates to near zero in 2020, it began increasing the target rate in 2022 to ease inflation. As of November, the Federal Reserve's target rate was 3.75% to 4%. Over the past year, the city's portfolio yield rose by 46 basis points and the value increased by approximately $16 million. The city's portfolio has a 5-year time horizon, and its yield will lag the market in both rising interest rate markets and decreasing interest rate markets. Based on the September portfolio, the book value balance and the yield of maturity interest earnings will increase by approximately $1.7 million annually. While this is important to note, we keep in mind that the city's investment objectives in priority include safety, liquidity, and then yield. In addition, interest earnings are a function of both yield and book value. Changes in the portfolio's balance affect interest earnings as well as the yield. While it's currently expected that the Fed will continue to increase its target rate for a period of time, an economic recession and an eventual decrease in interest rates is predicted next year. The committee has recommended 2 changes to the investment policy. The first change is adding a 45-day limit on forward settlements. The state has added the restriction that local agencies may not place an order for a bond that does not settle in 45 days. The state's restrictions should not adversely affect the city since its forward settlements are well under the 45-day limit. The committee finds the state's limitations a prudent change. The second change is reducing the maximum amount that may be invested in banker-accepted notes, reducing the maximum amount to be invested in banker-accepted notes from 40% to 25%. Banker acceptance notes are short-term investments similar to commercial paper, but with an added bank guarantee. The state limits the amount available to be invested in banker-accepted notes to 40% of the portfolio. The city policy current matches the state at 40% with a 5% single issuer limit and a maximum term of 180 days. The city currently owns no bankers accepted notes and does not typically purchase them. The committee feels a 25% limit would be more in line with the other investment policy requirements in keeping with a diversified portfolio. The committee recommended changes to the investment policy will be addressed when the staff presents a policy to City Council in January. The recommendation this evening is to receive and file the report, and I, as well as my comrades, are open for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Short. Any questions of Mr. Short, colleagues? Very good. I think we are set. We're looking forward to your recommendations coming in January.
Perfect.
And we need a motion to receive and file.
Move to receive and file.
Very good. Ms. Recommendation. Okay. So, anyway, Ms. Bill de la Pena, thank you. And Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Bill de la Pena,
Yes.
Councilmember Adam,
Yes.
Councilmember McNamee,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jones,
Aye.
and Mayor Engler.
Yes.
And that motion passes 5-0.
And one last thing, I want to thank you for an opportunity to present this report this evening. I'd also like to wish each of you a very joyful and happy holiday season and a very happy and prosperous new year. And I'm going off topic. Councilmember Jones, get better soon. We all love you.
Thank you. Very nice of you.
Very good. Our next order of business then is B, 11B, which is the fiscal year 22-23 Community Sports Grants Recommendation. And for this, we have Clyde Doheny, the chair of our committee, as well as Melissa Hurtado and Sarah Miles for comment.
She corrected me earlier, that's males. No, okay. Good evening, Mayor Engler and council members. It's my pleasure to be here to present the Community Funding Review Committee's recommendations for the city's fiscal year 2022 to 2023 Community Sports Grant. The City Sports Grant Program funding is included in the adopted fiscal year 2022 to 2023 budget. The grant provides up to $100,000 of funding to support sports and recreation programs of local nonprofit, community, and school groups. In order to qualify, applicants must be a 501c3 not-for-profit organization located primarily in the city of Thousand Oaks or serving the Thousand Oaks community. Qualifying programs must provide a benefit for the community they serve and a wide cross-section of Thousand Oaks residents. The application period opened on September 12th and extended to October 13th. The application was available on the city's website. Email notifications were sent to the applicants from the previous grant cycles. A press release was published. CVUSD provided an email to all booster clubs and principals, and the city utilized social media to notify the community grant of the community grant opportunity. City staff held an application workshop on September 8th via Zoom for all booster clubs, athletic directors, and nonprofit organizations interested in applying for the grant. The workshop was recorded and remains available on the dedicated Grant Opportunities webpage of the city's website. The city received 13 qualified applications with grant requests totaling $80,476.47. CFRC members independently evaluated the applications using predetermined scoring criteria based on requirements in the grant applications. On November 9th, 2022, the CFRC met to discuss the collated scores of the applications and unanimously confirmed the recommendation to City Council. The CFRC is recommending grant funding for the 13 organizations totaling $73,776.47. These are the 13 organizations that are being recommended for funding. The represented projects meet the criteria for benefiting the community and a wide cross-section of the residents. These include sports facility upgrades and equipment purchases. The CFRC recommends City Council award for fiscal year 2022 to 23 community sports grants as presented by the committee, with the total award of $73,776.47. This concludes my presentation. Assistant City Manager Melissa Hurtado, Community Services Analyst Sarah Males, and I are available for your question. And the reason I pointed out Sarah Males was because I had it wrong.
Well, very good. Thank you for the directions. Very good. Thank you for the presentation as well. Colleagues, any questions for our Mr. McNamee?
Thank you, Mayor. 13 applications were received, yet 12 were funded, if I read that correctly. Who was the one that was denied, or was I misreading that with the 13 applications that were submitted?
There were actually 15 applications received and 13 qualified. One application was received late, and the other application was for a sports team belonging to a different city.
So of the 13 qualified applications, that one that was not included with the funding was received late, is that correct?
No, the 13 that were qualified all received funding.
Okay, because you had 12 there that
There was an
received
error
funding.
on the PowerPoint, and I apologize for that. It's
Okay, thank you. Appreciate
13 are
that.
funded, yeah.
Thanks.
That explains that. And there is a summary in the staff report of how the funding went. Most of the applications that were received were fully funded. Some of the provisions in, I think it was three applications, we only funded partially because of some deficiencies we found.
Well, thank you for the good work you do. This enhances the features that we offer in our wonderful city. Thank you.
Thank you
Mayor?
very much.
Thank you, Mr. McNamee. We do have one public speaker. I believe he's in-house, Mr. Brian McQueenie.
Does he use the podium here?
Thank you. My name is Brian McQueenie. I'm a resident of Thousand Oaks, and I'm the CEO of Right On Therapeutic Horsemanship. I'm really here tonight just to give you a quick thank you and a shout out for the many years of support that this council and prior councils have given to really support sports organizations in this community. I'm here to tell you, I work in LA County, I work in Ventura County. Right On has been in this community for over 20 years now. It is rare to have the kind of commitment and leadership that I've seen in this community. And one of the reasons that my wife and I have moved to this community is because of that kind of vision that we have found here. So thank you. I will also tell you that Right On has now been a part of this community now for over 20 years. We got our first sports grant back in 2001, and that generation of support from the city has been critical in allowing us to deliver our therapeutic horseback riding services to over 55,000 individuals, disabled individuals in this community. We have also, in the same span of time, been the beneficiary of over 100,000 volunteer hours in this community, and we have taught and trained a new generation of young adults and adults how to be safe around horses, how to be aware of and work with and acknowledge the disabled community, something that is sometimes quite rare. In the last few years, as you know, we have taken on a partnership first with the city and now with Canal Recreation and Park District at Rancho Potrero. That is another avenue for us to deliver services to this community, to the entire community, to educate and train another generation, to continue that tradition of horsekeeping that has allowed our community to grow over a century. And I want to extend an invitation to you. This Saturday, we will actually be taking nearly 100 of our disabled athletes out in the Costco open space on a day-long series of trail rides. Mayor Englund, I think you will take off your mayor's hat and put on your Kiwanis hat, and you will be there. And I would like to invite the council, the city staff, and all the city residents to come out to Rancho Potrero this coming Saturday, December 10th, and learn and see for yourself what is possible out there. Thank you again so much. We cannot overstate the appreciation we have for your support.
Thank you, sir. Just for everybody's warning, I'll be cooking the hamburgers and things this Saturday, so, you know,
And
fair warning.
Just as a comment, both Right On and Rancho Potrero trail rides got fully funded for both their requests.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Any further questions for our speakers? Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. I believe we do need a motion from the dais here to...
I'd like to make a motion to accept 11B.
And we also need to authorize the...
Unauthorize the funding?
Yeah.
Okay.
Madam Clerk.
Just to be clear, so it's recommendations 1 through 4. Councilmember Bill LaPena,
Yes.
Councilmember Adam,
Yes.
Councilmember McNamee,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jones,
Aye.
and Mayor Engler,
Yes.
and that motion passes 5-0.
Very good. We now have a public hearing concerning our ordinance for single-use food accessories and condiments, an adjustment to our municipal code. Madam Clerk.
Hearing advertised as required by law is open to consider Agenda Item 8A, Single-Use Foodware Accessories and Standard Condiments Municipal Code Amendment. Speakers are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. 2 individuals have presented speaker cards, and pursuant to council standards, each speaker will have 5 minutes.
Thank you. We also have in the House Dr. Helen Cox for the presentation, and also Phil Hero.
It's close, but it's Hurl.
Hurl. Very good. For questions later. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Cox.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I'm here this evening to present a proposed single-use foodware accessories and condiments ordinance that would restrict the distribution of those items in the city. As mentioned, with me this evening and available to answer your questions is Assistant Analyst Philip Hurl. Assembly Bill 1276, which restricts the distribution of single-use foodware accessories and standard condiments to consumers, was signed into law on October the 5th, 2021. The law applies to accessories such as utensils, stirrers, straws, etc., and condiments that are typically applied to foods after their preparation, like ketchup, mayonnaise, salt, pepper, sugar, etc., and expands upon a law limiting the distribution of plastic straws that the state passed 4 years ago. AB 1276 went into effect on June the 1st this year and requires enforcement by the city. The goals of the law are to reduce the amount of plastic waste in our environment and reduce pollution which results from the production of these plastics. Local governments and taxpayers in California spend over $428 million annually in ongoing efforts to clean up and prevent litter in streets, storm drains, parks, and waterways. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated the problem through an increase in takeout food service and food delivery, although there's no evidence that COVID-19 can spread through food or food packaging. The ordinance before you tonight revises the Thousand Oaks Municipal Code to add provisions to limit the distribution of these items as shown here. These single-use items must either be specifically requested by the customer or the customer may be asked and respond in the affirmative. Also, items cannot be bundled. In our enforcement and outreach efforts, staff will use this opportunity to re-engage with food facilities on two other important items: the city's existing ban on the use of polystyrene and the new edible food recovery requirements under the state's Organics Waste Reduction Law, SB 1383. That ends our presentation. Thank you for your time and attention. We're available to answer any questions.
Any questions of my colleagues? We have speakers. A quick question for me. What is the enforcement mechanism on this thing? I know we're trying really to do a lot of education. Is there any enforcement that people need to be aware of?
There's the first will be to obviously inform and educate, and then following that, if those food facilities are found in violation, there would be a warning letter that they would receive, and if that any subsequent violation after that would be an infraction that's punishable by a fine of $25 for each day in violation, up to a maximum of $300 over a year.
And this was something that the state is asking us to do?
Yes, the state passed a law, but they require the cities to do the enforcement, and they also specified the penalties.
Thank you. Okay, we do have two public speakers. On Zoom, we have Faith Grant. Faith, are you there? Go ahead, Faith.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Faith Grant. I am a resident of Thousand Oaks. This municipal code amendment adds Chapter 7 to Title 6, restricting the use and distribution of single-use foodware accessories like straws, knives, forks, and condiments. The Caneo Climate Coalition supports this action to reduce the estimated 18 billion pounds of plastics that enter oceans annually and are broken down into microplastics and ingested by marine animals. Enforcement is included in this amendment. However, the violation fees have been set very low at $25 per day, not to exceed $300 per year. A retailer could easily pay this amount and continue pushing plastic out into our environment. This measure also does not indicate whether there is a budget for a, quote, robust outreach program end of quote, for enforcement or for contact information to report a violation. I don't know how to or where to report violations, and I believe this is true of most residents. If the city is serious about restricting plastics, funds have to be diverted to education, staffing, and enforcement. And this applies not only to this amendment, but to the other parts of Chapter 6 of the Single-Use Disposable Plastic Ordinance passed in October 2020, banning pyrostream products and moving to biodegradable food storage and cutlery materials. This ordinance went into effect in January 2022, yet it's not uncommon to see non-biodegradable food materials used at food outlets. If the goal is for Thousand Oaks to truly be a leader in protecting the environment and preserving our limited natural resources, the City Council needs to ensure there is funding for staffing and enforcement of this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We also have Danica Gonzalez. Danica? Thank you, Danica. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Danica Gonzalez. I live in Thousand Oaks, and I'm probably the only person under 18 here, which is kind of scary. But I'm here because I wanted to express my support for this new ordinance. I order takeout a lot, and I know how much that waste can build up. And I think even if it's just a small thing, being able to cut down on things like that add up. I really think that this city has the ability to be a leader in environmentalism and also to preserve like our community and our environment for future generations or for little younglings like myself. And I definitely think it is worth it to the city to invest time, money, and people into enforcing and educating about these environmental policies. So that way, not only can we say like, oh, here we have written in our law that we are going to be environmentally friendly, but also we are working as a community to better ourselves and to work towards creating a better environment for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very good. Staff, do you have any comments on our public speakers?
Yes, I just wanted to respond to the comments from our first speaker, Faith Grant. Firstly, about outreach and a budget for that. So I would like to say that we do have a substantial budget for outreach within our solid waste, our operating budget for solid waste that does include outreach on the polystyrene ban, and now obviously this will be folded into that same outreach effort, the same budget. And staff has conducted a considerable amount of outreach on the polystyrene ban, and will continue to do that obviously on this new ban by visiting retail distributors, food generators, takeout restaurants, etc. We'll continue that effort and encourage residents to call in. In fact, we do respond on any enforcement that reports that we get from residents on violations. We go out and actually visit those restaurants and those food distribution facilities. So we encourage that. There's a couple of different ways that the public can reach out to us on those, either through email, which is readily available through the city's email, or through gogreen@toaks.org, and also through the city's app, was called Connect-TO. It's on the city's main web page, but there is also a mobile app that we can use for reporting. So certainly the public is encouraged to do that, and we will follow up on any of that. As far as other kinds of takeout containers that are used, the comment was that people are using non-biodegradable. Unfortunately, even if biodegradable products were used for the distribution of takeout food. Those biodegradable products generally do not decompose in commercial composting facilities. There's not really a huge advantage in using those. So we do encourage people to use non-disposable items as far as possible, reusable items. And if that's not possible, then we would encourage them to use paper or whenever possible. If not, then the closest we can get really is plastic, which we can't, recyclable plastic. So there are a number of options, as I mentioned. We're really just trying to reduce the use of single-use items in general.
Ms. Bilder-Lepen, you had a question?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Engler. My question is regarding penalties. I would imagine that the first step is just a warning, education, outreach, but when does staff reach the sort of penalty phase, and what is the fee or fine, if there is one?
So there are 2 warning letters, and then that would be followed, the next violation will be followed by a penalty, which is $25 per day, and that penalty was specified by the state. So we do not have flexibility on that, but I mean, obviously, the goal is to do outreach, and in general, when we've been doing that at different sites, once, a lot of it is just awareness. So this was very much the case for the polystyrene. It's really making those facility owners aware of what the rules are, and once we can reach them, there has not been a problem with compliance.
Thank you.
Just a quick question for me, Dr. Cox. In terms of, we've had our polystyrene ban in place for around a year and a half or so. Can you give us a quick update on if you've noticed a decrease in number of complaints, or how has the education been going on it?
We really have not received more than a handful of complaints over the whole year, and when we do receive those complaints, we do conduct site visits. So in general, the city is reactive when it comes to enforcement. We do as much proactive as far as the educating people and notifying them with letters. But then as far as complaints go, we do react on the public complaints. Somebody just alerted me the city's app is called Mobile Citizen, that people can call and let the city know of any kind of code violation or any issue, trash, any other code violation that occurs through that app. And it's available to download on the city's website. And there's also a reporting page on the city's website.
Well, thank you. I think being informative and educational rather than punitive is the best way to go, and thank you for doing that. Okay. Any other questions from our council members? And we can close our hearing, and looking for a motion or discussion. Mr. Adam.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm really glad this is in front of us tonight. It fits nicely what we've done already, which is banning polystyrene, otherwise known as styrofoam, which is a product that never goes away, can last literally hundreds of thousands of years. We are putting our organics into our green waste bins now, so they don't work their way into the environment and turn into methane. And now this is one more step to keep plastics out of the environment. Used plastics should really never be in the environment to begin with, and the only way to keep them out is to not distribute them. And some companies are already doing that voluntarily. I know Starbucks no longer hands out plastic utensils. They ask you if you want them. And how many times have we gotten that plastic bag with the knife, the fork, and the spoon, and the napkin in it, and it's been absolutely no use to us. And then alpha goes into environment to degrade down into microplastics, which is in everything, including us. So this is a small step, but it's an important step. So, and by the way, the UN's meeting right now about this whole plastic problem. 160 countries are participating. They have over 2,000 experts because they know that these plastics are just ubiquitous. They're everywhere, in the ocean, and our beaches, and our rivers, everywhere. So I'm glad this is in front of us, and I'm hoping that business will voluntarily comply and that the rest of us won't ask for these utensils. Just, we don't need them. There's other alternatives. So with that, I'll move 8A. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments, colleagues? Very good. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Bill de la Pena?
Yes.
Councilmember Adam?
Yes.
Councilmember McNamee?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jones?
Aye.
Mayor Engler?
Yes.
And that motion passes 5-0. And the ordinance title is Ordinance Repealing Sections 6-6302 and 6-6303 of Thousand Oaks Municipal Code, and adding Chapter 7 to Title 6 of Thousand Oaks Municipal Code, restricting use and distribution of single-use foodware accessories and standard condiments.
Thank you. Next up on our agenda is item 13, which is our Ad hoc Homeless Committee recommendations. We have Ingrid Hardy, Assistant City Manager, and Dusty Russell, our Economic Development Analyst, for the presentation and questions.
Okay, want to make sure the City Council can hear me okay? Wonderful. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm here to present an update on homelessness on behalf of the Council's Ad hoc Committee on Homelessness. As the Council is aware, the state awarded the city nearly $27 million grant for Project Home Key to convert the Quality Inn and Suites into 77 units of permanent supportive housing. This was in alignment with your identified priority for 2021-22, which was to identify and advance solutions for emergency sheltering and permanent supportive housing. In addition, in alignment with this priority, the City Council unanimously authorized the use of city-owned property located at 1205 Lawrence Drive for the future use as a navigation center. This was from your September 27th City Council meeting. As a reminder, this is the property we are here to discuss this evening. This is a street view of our city-owned property, which is currently used for construction materials and staging. And then on the right-hand side, we had a conceptual sort of layout of how much space that navigation center would take on the site. The projects mentioned on the first slide, the former Quality Inn and Suites and the Navigation Center, represent two different types of housing. So I always like to provide that clarity for the City Council and any members of the public who are not familiar with the different types of housing to serve persons experiencing homelessness. Permanent supportive housing, which will be provided at the Quality Inn and Suites, combines affordable housing with wraparound services. Tenants sign a lease and they do pay rent. Over 90% of tenants who are in permanent supportive housing retain their housing and permanently exit homelessness. In addition, research and data shows that this is a less expensive option for addressing unsheltered homelessness. The goal of permanent supportive housing is for individuals to have stable, long-term housing and a productive life. Tonight's item, the Navigation Center, is focused on the interim housing, which is just that, it's temporary. Typically, they're operated by nonprofits or religious organizations. They provide on-site meals, case management, and housing navigation services. employment and education options, basically services that are designed to meet the individual needs of the client. The goal of the temporary housing is to create a pathway to permanent housing and to end homelessness. One of the most common questions and concerns when it comes to siting interim housing is that if you build it, they will come. People are going to come to Thousand Oaks to seek these services. And we currently have approximately 250 persons in Thousand Oaks who are experiencing unsheltered homelessness. Some of these individuals will be housed at the Quality Inn and Suites, but we still have a gap and a need for interim housing. Our navigation center, the priority will be for Thousand Oaks-based residents. Referrals will come from our local nonprofit organizations, such as Harbor House and Lutheran Social Services, our county agencies, as well as our law enforcement partners. We will also have beds that are set aside specifically for law enforcement at the Navigation Center. The operator will receive these referrals, conduct screening and intake, and the clients do sign a contract. And that contract is to comply with the rules of the site, and the contract also, the client is required to have a housing plan. Again, the goal of interim housing is a pathway to permanent housing. So a person must have a housing plan and work with a case manager so that they can find permanent housing. At this time, I will turn the presentation over to Dusty Russell, who will talk about the RFP and RFQ process that was launched after the authorization received by Council in September.
Thank you, Ingrid. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. On September 27th, City Council unanimously authorized city staff to issue an RFP soliciting proposals for the construction and operation of a navigation center at 1205 Lawrence Drive. This slide summarizes the activities that have taken place following the direction that Council provided to staff in September. Recognizing the city's urgent need for interim housing and housing navigation services, City staff moved swiftly, issuing the RFP October 7th. The submission period closed November 4th. Proposal review, interviews with the strongest proposing teams, and reference checks were performed. An evaluation committee brought its unanimous recommendation to the Council's Homeless Ad Hoc Committee November 21st. The Council Ad Hoc's recommendation brings us back before you tonight for full Council consideration. The city received a total of 4 proposal submissions. An evaluation committee consisting of representatives from the City Manager's Office, Finance, Community Development, and Public Works departments, as well as from the Ventura County Continuum of Care, reviewed each of the proposals. Here on the slide, you can see the evaluation criteria summarized. And it consists of overall quality and completeness of proposal, demonstrated understanding of scope of work and proposed approach to accomplish the scope of work, development team qualifications and experience, operator qualifications and experience, financial capacity, and cost effectiveness. The 2 strongest proposing teams advanced to an interview round. Reference checks were also performed as a part of the committee's due diligence. The evaluation committee's conclusion was unanimous, and its recommendation was presented to the Council's Homeless Ad Hoc Committee for consideration. The Ad Hoc Committee concurred with this recommendation. The recommended team consists of 3 primary entities: Dignity Moves as the proposed developer, Hope of the Valley Rescue Mission as the proposed operator, and Many Mansions, which would serve as a locally based consultant for the developer and operator through the project development and program implementation phases. They would also serve as the leaseholder for the site. Next, I will highlight a little bit more about each of the qualifications and experience of each of these entities, which are all represented here tonight, by the way. The proposed developer, Dignity Moves, is a nonprofit organization. Their highly skilled staff bring over 150 years of combined experience to the table. Their collective expertise spans a range of specialty areas, which include construction development, finance, fundraising, and technology. Dignity Moves demonstrates a superb degree of sophistication and innovation in their approach to projects. I think it's also worth noting that they've engaged Gensler to assist them with their site plan. Gensler is the same architecture firm that is currently working on the Alexandria Biotech project here in the city. To date, Dignity Moves' portfolio is comprised of 3 interim housing communities, including one located in the heart of downtown Santa Barbara. Several city staff, our law enforcement, and county partners have visited the Santa Barbara site. And in simplest terms, it's very impressive. This picture on this slide is a part of the Santa Barbara facility. The building in the back is the Morgan Stanley building. In fact, this facility is adjacent to multiple neighboring businesses, and it blends in well with its surroundings. The proposed operator, Hope of the Valley Rescue Mission, is a faith-based nonprofit organization. They have extensive experience operating tiny home villages with navigation center and other wraparound services across the region. This experience and their portfolio illuminate a strong appreciation for each community's unique needs and local sensitivities. We believe their model is highly adaptive to meet our needs here in Thousand Oaks. Hope of the Valley demonstrated a deep understanding of the various funding sources and associated requirements to obtain this funding. They have earned a reputation for delivering meaningful outcomes in a cost-effective manner. The photo on this slide is from the San Fernando Valley Business Journal last month, highlighting Hope of the Valley's contributions to improving lives there. Many Mansions is an affordable housing nonprofit organization that has served Thousand Oaks since 1979. Many Mansions is the leading developer and operator of permanent supportive housing here in Thousand Oaks and the broader Ventura County. Their portfolio includes 18 affordable housing communities serving over 1,400 residents in the area. For this project, as I stated previously, Many Mansions would serve as a consultant to the developer and operator, as well as a leaseholder on the property. Many Mansions brings intimate knowledge of the city's local development process, as well as long-standing relationships with wraparound service providers and other community partners to the table. Collectively, the Dignity Moves, Hope of the Valley, and Many Mansions team possess the expertise and experience necessary to bring this navigation center to life in a timely manner, and sophistication to operate a program that effectively meets our city's needs as well as council's goals with respect to this project. Here we have a draft site plan that was submitted as a part of the team's proposal. This preliminary design shows one way that the site could be laid out to meet the goals of this project. It provides a thoughtful starting point for further discussion. The right side of the image shows the design for the base 30 units. The darker portion in the middle shows where the site could accommodate potential additional units. The left side of the image in the light blue shows the existing battery storage facility, and the pink shows a portion to remain vacant for fire department purposes. In terms of estimated costs and funding sources, the Dignity Moves, Hope of the Valley, and Many Mansions team estimates construction costs will be approximately $3.8 million. Annual operating costs are estimated at approximately $800,000, slightly lower than staff's original estimate. There are a number of potential funding sources available for this project. Our goal is to have the least amount of impact on the city's general fund as possible. As such, staff plans to pursue state grant dollars to offset our costs. In addition, as you are aware, council authorized the mayor to send a letter to the county requesting a contribution towards the capital and operating costs for this project. As a reminder, council previously set aside $16 million in community reinvestment dollars to provide funding towards council's priority of addressing affordable housing and homelessness. Part of these dollars were used for the purchase of the former Hillcrest site for affordable housing. Another portion of the set-aside was to offset overall costs of the HomeKey project, leaving some funding that can be used for capital costs for the Navigation Center. Regarding operations, there are also a number of funding sources that staff plans to pursue. In addition to the city's request to the county to share the cost of operations, the city can utilize permanent local housing allocation, or PLHA, once we have a certified housing element. There are a number of competitive and non-competitive grants that can support this project. These grants include Project HomeKey and state encampment resolution grants, as well as those that are available through the county's continuum of care. In closing, it is important to point out that the numbers that you see are current estimates. If this project is approved to move forward, staff will return to council for expenditure and budget authority. At this time, I will turn the presentation back over to Assistant City Manager Ingrid Hardy for the concluding portion of this presentation.
There we go. Recognizing the significance of this project and the importance of providing education and engagement, a number of engagement opportunities or efforts have taken place over the past couple of months. For the public's benefit, the city's website, toaks.org/homelessness, has a host of information related to homelessness in Thousand Oaks, including law enforcement's role, our role, as well as current city efforts. Chief Paris and I sat down with Kyle Jory, that's the picture that you see there, to record a podcast with the Acorn newspapers. Last week, we hosted a community webinar where we had over 60 individuals who registered and 35 that actively participated. This webinar is also available on the city's YouTube channel for viewing. Chief Paris and I also attended the Rancho Conejo HOA meeting, where there were over 60 participants on that call. We provided information related to the City Council's efforts over the past 4 years to inform, educate, and act on issues related to homelessness. There was overwhelming support generally by the HOA community, or by the community of Rancho Conejo. In addition, we engaged in targeted efforts with surrounding businesses and property owners in the Rancho Conejo area, where after providing information related to the project and sort of clearing up any myths or misunderstandings, there was general support for where we're headed. We also engaged with the Council on Aging. A presentation was provided to that group last week, and staff answered questions related to, concerns or misunderstandings related to the issue of homelessness. And then we also have a presentation scheduled with the Youth Commission tomorrow. So that concludes our presentation for this evening. The recommendation before the City Council is to approve the selection of Dignity Moves, Hope of the Valley, and Many Mansions to develop, lease, and operate a navigation center on Lawrence Drive, and to authorize the city manager to initiate the preparation of an exclusive negotiating agreement. And we also recommend to find that this action is not a project as defined under CEQA. So that concludes my presentation. As Dusty mentioned, we do have members from the team being recommended in the audience tonight. We also have Jennifer Harkey with the County Continuum of Care available on Zoom. And I will conclude. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Hardy. We do have members in the audience. If you would like to come up and introduce yourselves in case we have any questions, I'd appreciate it. And we do have one member online, I believe. That's going to be Mark Sabin as well online. So Mark, you are available for questions as well.
Mayor Engler, members of the City Council, members of City staff. My name is Rick Schrader. I'm president of Many Mansions, and we're very excited to be here with, I think, an outstanding team to develop and to operate this type of housing.
Mayor and City Council, excuse my voice, my name is Ken Kraft. I'm the founder and CEO at Hope of the Valley Rescue Mission. And this is Lori, who is, yes, my wife, but she is also our Chief Programs Officer. She oversees right now 15 shelters, 1,400 beds, and we also have 3 Project Home Keys in operation. We'll have 2,200 beds in the next few months. And we are very excited about this project. We know we operate 6 tiny home communities, and we've seen really the impact that it makes when we can bring people indoors, we can stabilize them, and then we can begin to address the underlying issues that led to their homelessness and the issues that are preventing them from being permanently housed.
Good evening, Mayor Engler and members of the City Council and staff. My name is Marge Caffarelli. I'm the Chief Real Estate Officer for Dignity Moves, and we are very excited about this opportunity to partner with Many Mansions and Hope of the Valley to build interim supportive housing for chronically homeless. This project has couples and individual units, but we also build units for chronically homeless families and youth. So we're really delighted to be a part of this team, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you. And thank you for the presentation. Colleagues, questions? Mr. McNamee.
Thank you, Mayor. Governor Jerry Brown many years ago received word from the ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court that our prisons were overcrowded. You must reduce the prison population. And he did so by Prop 4757, written by Gaston, who's now DA of Los Angeles. Unfortunately, that put a lot of people that were in jail and prison who had food, shelter, and medication out onto the streets in very inhumane situations, with the cities being required to provide services that they weren't prepared to provide. Thus, we've got the incredible homeless boom that has occurred here in California. So we're being forced to address this issue because those folks are being placed in a very inhumane situation and they need help. And this program goes a long way to address that. However, it's not adequate in a certain aspect, is that the Ninth Circuit Court in the Boise case said that law enforcement cannot take someone off the streets and put them into county jail for violating certain laws of being on government property unless there is offer of a bed alternative. Now, these 33 beds create that alternative. But we have some 250, 350, depending on what the count is, homeless here. Between the 77 beds we have at the Quality Inn that are being put in, this 33, my question for staff, you mentioned that there's a potential, if I heard you correctly, of adding more beds so that way law enforcement can take many of the homeless off of the streets and get them out of the inhumane situation. With winter coming, from November to February, they're in sometimes freezing temperatures. Do we have the ability to move it from 33 units to more at the site that we have on Lawrence Drive?
So the proposal did request that the proposing team plan for an expansion. We can accommodate up to 50 units on this site. At this time, we're recommending 30.
When law enforcement has that option of an open bed, if we have total 50, I believe you said, is the maximum that we would have there, is that correct? Or an additional 50, bringing it up to 83?
No, a total of 50. And that's 50 units, keeping in mind that the units can accommodate single or couples.
Okay, and we wind up then with, unfortunately, it doesn't meet that 250 to 350 number. I hope city staff and this council can find other places to do something similar. And I applaud your effort here among the 3 entities that are here. You're doing God's work. These folks I see every day as I walk into my office to my clinical practice, they're good people. They have a lot of challenges of mental illness and drug addiction, some just down on their luck and need a helping hand. So I hope this moves forward and we can find other places in Thousand Oaks to do the same. Thank you, staff, for the good work you've done. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. McNamee. Any other questions of staff? Very good. We do have one person on Zoom who would like to address us on this. We have Mr. Jeffrey Lambert on Zoom. Mr. Lambert, are you there?
I am here.
Thank
you. Ready?
Go ahead, sir.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Jeff Lambert. I had the honor of serving as the Chief Operating Officer of the Ventura County Community Foundation. And the comment was just made about acknowledging the great work of the team that's before you to do this project. But I want to start by acknowledging the leadership of the City of Thousand Oaks, the City Council, your ad hoc committee, and your staff, particularly the City Manager's Office and Ingrid's work to get this before you tonight. I have to say, I've followed this kind of work for a long time, and the light speed that you've been able to bring this to the City Council for action is pretty unheard of, and I want to congratulate you for that work, your whole team, in bringing this forward. I also want to say that you picked a dream team, should you take this action tonight, to deliver this to you. I think the combination of Dignity Moves, Many Mansions, and Hope of the Valley will be certainly going to deliver to you what you want as a well-run, efficient, and humane approach to providing interim housing, as Ingrid described earlier, for this community. We at the Community Foundation have taken homelessness and housing as a priority. We have actually been talking among many cities in Ventura County to see how we can bring philanthropy to the table to deliver a project just like this. And I'm really proud to support Thousand Oaks' really effort to sort of lead that effort in Ventura County. We also understand that you can't do it alone. The city can't do it alone, nor can the county. And so we pledge to you that we will do our best to bring philanthropy to the table as well, to make sure that not only your dollars are spent, the county's dollars, we hope, will also be brought to the table, and other state funding, but we will be at the table as well, and trying to be a partner to make sure this is a well-run and humane and wonderful opportunity to serve your community. So I want to thank you, congratulate you on the work well done, and we're here to stand with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert. Okay. Very good. Ms. Milda de Pena.
This was the only public speaker, correct? Yes, thank you. I know we can have further discussion, of course, but I would like to move approval of recommendations 1 and 2, simply because it is high time that we come up with a project like this. And it is so pressing because we had, of course, started this last June 2021 already. And here we are at the end of 2022. Time is absolutely of the essence. And it is true, as the representative from VCCF stated, this happened with warp speed, absolute warp speed. We approved this, what was it, in October? And here we are 8 weeks later, more or less. And we have a dream team in front of us and an outline of potential funding. And the reason we needed to rush is because the deadline is looming for funding from the state as well as from the county, but primarily from the state. To say that we started out with Project Home Key, the La Quinta Inn, not La Quinta Inn, Quality Inn, excuse me, and then this is simply remarkable, and it is a wonderful way to end the year 2022. The thanks, of course, goes, while Mayor Engler and I were on the ad hoc committee, the legwork was really done by staff under the supervision of Assistant City Manager Ingrid Hardy. How you pulled that off, I have no idea, but you did with the help of your colleagues, of course. It is high time. And I'm glad that Thousand Oaks is taking leadership in the East County to do what needs to be done, and that is to end homelessness, and if not end, at least to reduce homelessness. It's a mighty proud moment for me personally, and I, again, move that we approve recommendations 1 and 2.
Thank you, Ms. Milda de Pena. Any other comments? Mr. Adam.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, this modular home village that is to be created is as much for the homeless in our community as for the community itself. You know, I have a daughter that lives in the city of Santa Barbara, and I have a daughter that lives in West Hollywood, and I've been in both cities quite a bit, and I can speak intimately of the devastation that homelessness brings to a community. People sleeping in doorways, people sleeping on sidewalks, center medians of cities loaded with tents, cities that have sprung up. And these are great cities, West Hollywood, Santa Barbara, and they're doing everything they can to combat this problem. We haven't gotten to that point here in Thousand Oaks, and I don't want to get to that point here in Thousand Oaks. I want to be proactive, and this is one way to make sure that that's not going to happen. It's the cheapest, fastest way to deal with the problem, and I'm very enthused about it. In fact, there was a quote from the CEO of Dignity Moves that I thought made a lot of sense. She said, "Our streets cannot be the waiting room." And that's what's happened in so many communities. We need to get the people off the streets and into housing, and this is just a fantastic way to do just that. So I'm completely in favor of the motion. Thank you, Claudia.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Jones, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to add my feelings to that, too. I agree with what has been said previously. This is just another indication of the excellence, I believe, of the city of Thousand Oaks. And I'd like to thank Ingrid for taking the leadership on this. And, you know, I think we have the reputation that when a problem comes up, we don't sidestep it, we solve it. And we've gone a long way with this and the Quality Inn and what we're going to do at Herbs and Hillcrest. I believe it's been a team effort. And it shows the beginning with the city manager and Jamie and the prudent use of our money, that we do have the money then to do these things. And it's been done so efficiently and so well. I know this won't take care of every one of the 250 homeless in this city, but hopefully this will make a big dent in it. And then we can perhaps use that to create more productive residents through this program, that they have the better chance of being rehabilitated in this environment than out on the street, as Councilman Adam was talking about. And then maybe this can be like a way station along the way, you know, to complete independence and people being self-motivated and able to move on their own with the help of others. But I just think this is a wonderful project, and I compliment everyone involved. The speed, the efficiency, the logic of it all. And I do think that we have made a better step forward than many localities have. So thanks to all. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. I'll add my voice of congratulations on the job well done by staff, and welcoming to our city family all of our partners in this event and in this thing that we're going to be doing. Notice I used the word doing. I think all of us on the council have received numerous emails from constituents asking us to do something about homelessness. What are you going to do? Well, I'm one that firmly believes that we can talk about things until we never get anything done. We could talk about it for a long time. This council and the city staff has taken the opportunity to do something. To do something is, we're not going to be able to solve all the problems of the world, but we are going to be able to do something about a part of the problem, and that is so important. And I'm proud of our organization for taking that step forward. Congratulations to Ms. Bill de la Pena, who for years has been a driving force behind this particular effort to address homelessness. We have several pieces in place now with this center we're building out on Lawrence Drive, with our permanent supportive housing location at the Quality Inn. And then hopefully within the next few years, we will have a for sale affordable housing at our Herbs Road. These are just parts of addressing our need for housing within our community, and I think we're on the right road. Mr. McNamee mentioned that this will also give our police officers a little more leverage in convincing folks that they should take advantage of these items that are available to them. This is something that we could help people find their way back into permanent housing. Having this second option, I think, is a way for us to help bring people to getting back on track. So with that, I'm happy to support it. I think Ms. Milda Pena has a second comment.
I didn't want to interrupt you if you want to finish your thought.
I'm all done.
Okay. Yeah, as maker of the motion, I just wanted to say that accomplishments and milestones such as this are also happening due to the buy-in from the community. And it took years of community outreach and education to change the hearts and minds of our community and see the faces of homelessness, for example. So, and with that, I am looking forward to our navigation center being a big buy-in, in that it will be, and hopefully can be, a true partnership between the public and the private sector. And that is the ultimate buy-in from the community, when you have business partners or private citizens willing to pitch in to help fund these programs. So I'm looking forward to that. And with that, I will leave it up to you to call for the vote.
Well, thank you. Yes, Madam Clerk, would you call the vote?
Councilmember Bill de la Pena?
Yes.
Councilmember Adam?
Yes.
Councilmember McNamee?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jones?
Aye.
Mayor Engler?
Yes.
And that motion passes 5-0.
Very good. Let me just turn it over to Mr. Powers just for 1 second.
Just wanted to make a couple quick mentions. It was acknowledged throughout leadership in this cause. We were with council at the end of September. We were able to turn an RFP and RFP review around within that period to have this back in front of you on time for this last business meeting of the year. That wouldn't happen without a strong commitment from our team. A lot of mentions gone to Ingrid Hardy. This simply doesn't happen without her leadership, and I'm so incredibly appreciative of it. Dusty Russell was right there in the chair from a perspective of reviewing and running the process. Jamie Boscarino ensuring a thorough review on all the financials. Our legal team, Tracy Friedel and Patrick Kehoe, are working on this. To our partners, thank you for having faith in our structure of our proposal and putting in a proposal. We are very excited to have you all together and interested in partnering with us, and we're very much looking forward to what's ahead of us. And finally, a special note to Tom and Danny, who are in the front, our vulnerable populations officers here with Thousand Oaks Police Department. They're on the front lines every single day, and they have not had a key tool in their toolbox to use, and so it can be incredibly frustrating and tiresome work. And here's hoping that this is a very important and powerful tool and new partnership for all of you. So my thanks to the entire team and to the broader community for this.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. Moving along, I have a couple of quick reports to do. I was honored to be able to represent the city at a couple of events. One was the California League of Cities Channel Counties Division meeting up in Paso Robles. And at that meeting, we had several items that came up, which was important things to know. The Channel Counties is Ventura, Santa Barbara, and San Luis Obispo counties, and we meet on a regular basis to compare notes and come up with best practices. The keynote speaker was State Treasurer Fiona Ma, and she shared with us several initiatives that her office has to assist business, seniors, and families. And also, she introduced to us a new program called Cal Kids. And unfortunately, I don't have any kids in this age group, but from the beginning of their life, California State is seeding a bank account for each kid at $25 to have an account to save for college. So these are some of the good things that were accomplished with Cal City's Channel Division. Also, myself and Mayor Pro Tem Ed Jones went out to Kansas City this last about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Kansas City for the National League of Cities conference that is held each year. It's called the Cities Conference. We met with cities from all over the country. There's almost 2,000 representatives from different cities, both staff and elected officials. And we were able to interact with all of, well, not all of them, but we were able to interact with members of that community. There was a couple of keynote speakers. Just to give you an idea, these are our national people. John Stanky, who is the CEO of AT&T, who came and spoke to us about how AT&T is taking the initiative to try to introduce universal broadband, especially in the rural areas, and it sparked a lot of interest from cities that are more in the areas that aren't well served right now by broadband. Also, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, who is the, I think he serves on CNN as their doctor in-house. He wanted to speak about the effects of COVID and how growing mental health issues have grown out of our exposure to COVID and all the things that we did during those years, especially as it applies toward kids and young adults. A very good presentation. He reminded everybody of the new 988 number that you can call 24/7 if you have any issues that you would need to discuss with a person. You will get a person who will come and help you 24/7. I was also able to go to a tiny home project, a veterans tiny home project, very similar to what we are proposing out at our Lawrence Drive area. Very successful. They are able to take our homeless veterans in the Kansas City area and reintroduce them to housing and get them back on their feet. A very good group out there doing good work. Also attended a couple seminars on safe streets and sidewalks, how to incorporate multiple use on our streets, that we aren't just for automobiles anymore, that we can try to incorporate some of the ideas here in our city. There's also, I'm on the Public Safety and Crime Prevention Committee and had good discussions at a national level on where we should be pushing some of our congressmen and senators to provide more funding and ideas for better improving safety within our communities. Also, I was the voting member and was able to vote on many resolutions and on our new leadership for the National League. Also attending was Mr. Ed Jones, and I'll ask Ed if you have any further comments on your experiences at the convention.
No, I think you've covered pretty well. I went to 2 or 3 on housing and also one on transportation. I liked the camaraderie we had with the city delegates from all over the country. And I felt that we were on the same team, and we can do a lot of things together, and we can profit by the example of things that are going on. It was very informative. I also was not used to 19 or 20 degree weather, so I tried to get indoors as quick as possible, but it does keep one alert. No, I enjoyed the conference very much, and except I may have been infected on the way home in the plane. That's the only negative about it, but I appreciated the city sending Bob and me to that convention. I thought it was very profitable. Thank you.
Yes, it was very cold. It was a reminder of why we all living here in Southern California. Very cold. It snowed one day. It was, we stayed indoors quite a bit. Mr. Jones brings up the reason for these groups is that we get together and find people from across the country with similar issues. Everybody across the country is wrestling with affordability in housing. And some of the ideas that some places have are applicable to here and others aren't, but you don't know until you get there. The one thing I would leave you with is our National League of Cities involvement has led to the federal government for the first time, I believe ever, directly funding cities. Typically, federal funding goes to the state, filters down through the counties, and then if something's left over, it falls to the cities. This time, through the advocacy of National League of Cities, money was directly fed to cities. We're the ones that are closest to the people. We're the ones that know where that money needs to be spent, and it was a feather in the cap of National League. I'm glad we are participants in it. With that, I will turn it over to Mr. Powers to talk about upcoming
Mr.
ideas
Mayor?
and things.
Mr. Mayor, I hate
Oh,
to
I'm sorry.
interrupt,
We do have we need a motion. I'm sorry.
Can we vote on B and C at the same time?
Yes, we can vote on B and C. Thank you.
Okay, I'll move that we approve the staff recommendations on B and C.
Thank you. Any other comments? Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Bill La Pena,
Yes.
Councilmember Adam,
Yes.
Councilmember McNamee,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jones,
Aye.
Mayor Engler,
Yes.
and that motion passes 5-0.
Now, Mr. Powers.
Thanks so much, Mayor Engler. Well, tonight we wrap up our last business meeting of the calendar year. Next week we'll be back here for our annual reorganization meeting. We'll be here at 6 o'clock next Tuesday evening, and that will be an opportunity to acknowledge all the accomplishments and achievements of the current council and their contributions over the years, and to have the swearing in of 2 new members of the City Council, which will occur a week from tonight. And that concludes my update.
Thank you. And with that, I'll call the meeting to a close. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for your kind attention.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.